The Faces Podcast, brought to you by Telehelping.
There's no better person to introduce yourself than Lachlan himself. So please tell us who we're talking with today.
Great, thank you. So my name is Lachlan Hewson. I'm the founder of Forte Resources Advisory. Basically, I started that business after an investment banking and corporate career when I realized that what we do in finance, we often get to the wrong answer a lot more often than we get to the right answer. And that's not because people aren't smart, they're not motivated to really achieve the best results and get to that right answer. It's because the tools we use, which is primarily Excel, it's just not nearly as dynamic as it needs to be in today's world. And yet there are a number of simple Excel add-ins that we can use to convert Excel from what I call a two-dimensional static tool to being a three-dimensional, four-dimensional, very dynamic tool. And what that then allows us to do is get a lot better information, greater insight, and make better decisions. So that's my primary business focus, is helping boards, executives, and investors upgrade the finance function and make better decisions. So, and maybe now we're getting into the operating system. And so Excel is a really great framework, but fundamentally, it's the operating system that drives the integrity of whatever we're building. Mm-hmm. So, I was born in Australia, grew up in half a dozen remote mining towns. My father was a mining engineer. So I grew up very early with a fascination with the broad resources business, whether that was mining, whether that's oil and gas. And it's really been that interest that I've followed my whole life professionally, into investment banking, into the corporate world. But the other part of what I really enjoyed about growing up was working with horses. So as we talked about earlier, I think that my experience has been is the finance function. We often get to the wrong decision more often than we get to the right decision. And why is that? As we chatted about, it's because we really never get to include all of the data that we need in our financial models. And financial models, and what it allows me to do very simply, very easily, is now incorporate a lot more data into my financial model, into a particular cell. It allows me to now better define the relationships between the input variables. And it means that the output, the analyses that I get, the ratios and formulas that I calculate for really important outputs, that rather than getting one value and having to do that monkey see, monkey do 10 times to get this range, I actually now get a distribution of values which has taken into account the variability in all the inputs and the relationship between those. And so now when I present that material to the person who's using it, now they have a sense for what is the likelihood of a particular outcome. And so we think about the sensitivity analyses that we would do